Hey guys, welcome to the Skill2Scale Show. In this show, we are growing our skills and then showing you how to scale your life, whether that's in faith, business, or family. If this is your first time watching one of our episodes, we are a father and son team. My name is Michael, and this is my dad, Antonio, joining me. And we love all things marketing, entrepreneurship, faith, family. And in today's episode, we are actually talking about the one secret that businesses use to be successful. So, Dad, I want to ask you this quick question. What is the one thing that you have seen that separates a successful business from one that closes down or fails quickly into its life?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is that we know who we're serving and how we're going to serve them. So, the first principle for being successful in business is that you want to specialize in one thing that you need to be able to serve people or to sell something. So, you need to actually know what you're serving, who you're serving, and that's really a specialty. And you also need a community to be able to serve that group of people with that one thing. So here's the thing: if you serve everybody, and this is going to be hard for everybody to grab a hold of, but if you serve everybody, guess what? You serve nobody. So we really need to clarify if you're just jumping in business or you've been doing it for a while and you're struggling, you're on the struggle bus. Listen, you need to actually clarify the specialty. You need to clarify, if you will. A lot of people use the word niche. So whether you want to call it a niche or a specialty, we like the word specialty. But if you really want to be successful, you need to have clarity on who you're serving and how you're going to serve them. So this is going to change everything. Now, let me quickly just kind of define for you, if it's all right, define for you what is a specialty, what is a niche. So it really refers to a specific area of interest or an expertise that a business has for either a product or a service so that you can serve the market. So, in other words, it's a specific market segment that a business or a product is targeting. And that's really what you want to hone in on. You want to have clarity. I remember reading a book from Lululemon, the founder, Chip Wilson. And when he was, coming up with the company, he had already had other businesses in the past, and they were kind of struggling for many, many years. And then he came up with this idea because he went to yoga. He did yoga this one morning, and he realized that people were wearing these, outfits that they weren't conducive to yoga. And he came up with finding out who he wanted to serve and how. And so he actually obsessed about who he was serving and how he was going to serve them. And that became the market. And so he obsessed so much about his dream avatar, and that's what we call it, the person that you're serving. And he actually named her. Her name was Becky. This is a made up person, okay? Her name was Becky. She's 32 years old. She made $200,000 a year, and she wanted to be efficient with her time. So she wore yoga pants early in the morning, did her workout, went for coffee with her friends, went to work, all in the yoga pants. And because she made $200,000, she was single, she didn't have any of those, family responsibilities. She had the income to own a pair of Lulu pants, Lulu yoga pants that are about $100. And he was able to charge that because he knew who he was serving with how he was going to serve them. And if you can clarify this, you're going to be very successful.
Yeah. And another story that I've actually thought of with businesses that have started with a specific niche, if you actually look at it, not really any successful long term businesses have started broad. And when I say broad, that means like targeting everybody.
Right.
They usually start with a very specific niche, like you guys are saying, or specialty. Like if you look at Tesla, Tesla didn't start making $20,000 cars from the beginning like they are now. They started with only $120,000 electric vehicles because they were the first electric vehicle that was like not look terrible, didn't look like a joke,
Right.
and so then it targeted a very specific person, a person that liked tech, a person that wanted a luxurious looking vehicle that was futuristic, and it was still fast. It still had the upside of not being like low battery and had to charge it all the time. So he was targeting a specific niche. And then what happens is with most of these businesses, once they grow in that specific niche, they then expand, right? So like analogy I've heard of like with niches is like be this target the small fish in the pond, target the minnows, right? And then once you've become the bigger fish in those minnows, then go after the bigger fish. And then once you're a bigger fish, then you become a shark. And then you're targeting all the fish in the pond, right? So that's kind of how you have to think of it. That's how you can scale a business, because you're not going to scale anything by just broad everywhere from the beginning. Another example is this is actually Amazon. He started, he saw the problem of bookstores were only physical. So he would like have to always walk into a bookstore, and the bookstore could control the price. So then he's like, why don't I just deliver books to people to their door? And I can have sellers come on, sell used and new books, so then it can be cheaper. And then he's like, and then I can offer 1-2 day delivery, right? So he started with the niche of literally just books. And then that's how he grew into obviously what Amazon is today. Everyone uses it. But that's the power of starting with a niche and then scaling out and growing your
Yeah, and a lot of
business.
people, they want to actually serve everybody. They want to like, they even have an idea, they have a solution. They're like, I'm going to serve everybody with my solution, and that's actually the wrong direction. You want to uh, get so clear on not just your solution that you're offering people, but also who you're actually going to be serving, and be really, really specific on that person. So know everything about that person, and will actually help you be really successful in business. Now, what we'd like to do, because we love the Bible and we love seeing how business and the Bible come together. And so, what I'd like to do, especially with a lot of our episodes, we really want to go like, what does the Bible say about that? What does the Bible say about wealth? What does the Bible say about business? What does the Bible say about marketing? What does the Bible say about sales, and so on? So, even for this, finding your specialty, maybe we could look at the Bible. And what I found was in Genesis chapter 49, which is actually all about Jacob. Jacob is on his deathbed. He's the dad of Joseph. Okay, now Joseph has already been like the second most powerful man on the planet at that moment, and Jacob is dying. His dad is dying, and he has 12 sons. So he's on his deathbed, and he calls in all his sons into his bedroom, and he speaks a blessing over every single one of them. So it's not a general blessing. It's a specific blessing to every one of his sons, and he blesses them individually. So they eventually became the 12 tribes of Israel. And every tribe had its own unique specialty or its own niche. And that's really the story of Israel, of this, amazing nation. And so I want to look at it. If you want to go to the Bible, in your Bible, and look at this later on, that's great. But this is what happens. Jacob blessed every one of his sons, and he took time in them. And to some, he said, I bless you with business. To some, you're going to be in research. Some of you guys will be in shipping. Some of you guys will be educators. Some of you will be transportation and military. And you're going to be the priest. You're going to be the Levi priest of Israel. And so what he did there, he actually blessed them, but he spoke a blessing of a unique specialty. And that's the power of business. Okay? So that specialty created like you become a master in one area. You get to be known for that one thing. And this is the power. I become good at one area, and people know me for that area, but I also need other people for other areas. So each son provided one thing to the market or to their other brothers. But the idea behind Jacob's blessing was unity and diversity. So, I have sons. So some of my sons are going to do this, some of my sons would do that, but they're all probably going to bless each other, because your skill and your unique skill set is actually going to probably help someone else. And that is powerful. So Now we got the market. Now we got help, specialty people helping specialty people. And because the
Yeah.
riches, so why we want to do this is because the riches are in the niches. The riches are in your specialty. So you become well known for one thing, and other people are going to go and look for you because, hey, do you know that guy? He does that one thing and he's really good at it. Okay. And so we really want to clarify this. We really want to have this in our own lives. So if you're going online and you're creating digital assets, then you want to be known for that one thing. What is that guy known for? And so, or what is that
Yeah.
girl known for? And now you actually have power, you have influence, and you can charge for that specialty.
You should share that one story about John Maxwell. Feel like this would pertain to it.
Oh, yeah. So I remember being with John Maxwell. This was probably 15 years ago or so. And I was working with someone at the time, and we went and did a presentation. And it was just John Maxwell as a private meeting, John Maxwell and his president at the time. And so we were in that room for like 4 hours, and we were presenting to him what he could be a part of, and he was open to ideas. He was open to jumping in and serving where he could. And after the 4 hours, he just kind of stopped because he heard everything that was happening, everything that was potential, and he stopped the meeting and he said, "Well, that's great, guys. I really liked hearing all this, but I only do one thing." He said, "I teach on leadership. So, what area could I come in and jump in on as long as it's teaching on leadership?" And so,
Hmm.
when I looked at that meeting, I'm like, "Oh man, he doesn't jump in on so many shiny objects." And I think that's a temptation for any entrepreneur because they see problems and they see they can help solutions, and they might even see profit, but that's a distraction. And so we really want to become good at one thing and cut off all the distractions. In fact, a lot of people even try something and they fail and they think it doesn't work because you didn't try it long enough. And at first, when you're not succeeding and you think it doesn't work, it's probably working on you before it's working on your business. So you want to get good first long enough in order for you to become profitable or successful or serving people well or serving people better. So there might be a season where you have to decide, I'm going to do this one thing and I'm going to do it for a good season, not 2 months. I'm going to do it for the
Yeah.
next 2 or 3 years. And in the 2 or 3 years, I'm going to see success. And I'm going to inundate myself with developing my skills, with my focus, with my determination, with my perseverance. And I'm going to continue growing and learning and trying. But I'm not going to get distracted with so many things. I'm just going to do this one thing, and I'm going to become better and better at that one thing. And I guarantee you that if you do it long enough, you're going to be successful. But a lot of people quit way too early, or they get distracted with so many shiny objects and they don't focus and hone in on that one thing.
Yeah. That's super good. I even remember when we first started doing online business stuff, we would like try a specific topic. Be like, oh, maybe we'll try like sales. This is when we started like posting on social media. We're like, how about we just only post sales stuff? Let's
Right.
see what happens. And we did it for like a week or two, and the views were really low.
Right.
We're like, oh, it must not work. Then we just try something else. And then we
Right.
just try something else. And the upside of that was you figure out like what people actually enjoy to watch of your content. But the downside was we just kept switching and there was nothing we could stick to. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And you don't get
that's
known for that. And you don't get known for that thing. So both it's not
exactly
helping you and it's not helping your prospects because
the audience.
all of a sudden
Yeah.
you're attracting the salespeople, and then you're attracting this group of people and this group of people, and you're not really attracting the right people long term.
Yeah, exactly. Now, so you were just explaining like the story of Jacob, which is
Yep.
super good. I've never actually really thought of it like that, the 12 tribes of Israel as niches. Um, but I hear like what we're talking about today in the episode. I'm just trying to put myself in the viewer's perspective.
Right.
What now? How do I figure out my niche? Like, what are the things that I need to do to figure out the niche that I can be have a specialty in so that I can serve my audience well?
Yeah, so why don't we dive into some questions that, man, if you're watching this, I highly recommend that you take these notes down. And you have to ask yourself these questions in order for you to clarify what is your specialty. Because a lot of people who even jump on the online space, their number one problem, bar none, the number one thing that people come in and say, I want to make a course or a digital asset or ebook, I want to be online, but I just don't know my niche. I don't know my specialty. So if you go through these 7 questions, what's going to happen is you're going to have answers to the 7 questions, and where they meet is where what you should hone in on. That's my specialty. That's my niche. So if you can ask yourself these 7 questions, answer them, you're going to have a lot of clarity where you should focus your attention on. So why don't we start with the main problem? Okay. The main issue is, what problem do you solve? That's the first question. What problem do you solve? So I want to go back a little bit. Business is all about solving people's problems. It's not about making money.
Yeah.
Making money is a result of solving people's problems. So if I can solve enough people's problems, that means my income grows, my influence grows.
Yeah.
But I have to be able to solve people's problems. And if you want to look at sales, if you have no problem, you have no sale. So if you can't solve anyone's problems, you're not going to make any money. So we want to actually clarify, what problem can you solve? So you're not going to solve all the problems, but what are the problems that you can specifically solve? Answer that. And then you're going to be one step closer to creating and understanding your specialty.
Yeah, that's good. And I'll go into the second question here.
Okay.
What are you passionate about? So what gets you excited? Even describe what moves you. Like when you're talking to someone, just hanging out, what are the things that kind of get you upset or get you going when you're talking about it? Like, for example, I enjoy talking about the NFL, right? I enjoy the Chiefs, right? So then maybe I'll do a podcast about sports, right? Or maybe I'll do something about fantasy football, or maybe I'll do something it could be anything. It could be cooking, it could be baking,
Like
it
Michael,
could
if
be
you
being
came
a
up,
mom.
with, because you win a bunch of fantasy football leagues, like every year
Yeah, I
you're
win
part of
lots.
like
Yeah.
3 or 4 of them, and more than likely you're going to win 2 or 3 of them. Okay, I just know this because I've been following you for a few years, and so you literally could
Yeah.
come up with a cheat sheet. Like, this is how you do it. I'm actually letting you guys in. This is how you do it. Like, if Michael
Yep.
came up with a cheat sheet on the fast track to being profitable in fantasy football, and he came up with a
Yep.
cheat sheet or a resource that people could use, he could sell it, and people would buy it. There's enough
100%.
interest in that one.
100%. I could easily just go oh, this is how you study the draft board. This is how you look at value. This is how you do trades. This is how you get into the league so you have a higher chance of winning, right?
Right.
And make a whole thing. I can make a course with a workbook and sell that easily $27.
Right.
And then I start doing a podcast about fantasy football and people will buy it.
100%.
And people do that.
Yes.
And people do that. But that's exactly how you need to pick your niche and pick a market that is profitable.
Right.
But do you want to go into the next question?
Yeah, let's go to number 3. Number 3 would be, what do you naturally research? So the best way I like to look at is this one is, what do you naturally research on a Saturday afternoon? What are you learning about that you want to learn about? Like, this is not something that you have to do. This is something that you want to do. What are you looking up at night?
Yeah.
Like, my wife every night is looking up houses, real estate. Okay. And and if we get a new house, I guarantee you, she will still be looking at real estate, because she's been doing this probably for a decade. And it doesn't matter what neighborhood we live in, doesn't matter what house we live in. She always has been doing this. She always will. And she's thought about getting into the real estate market. She's thought about doing things in like from real estate agency to all sorts of things because she naturally researches on it. So what about you? What do you naturally research right now? If you're doing that regularly on your free time, guess what? That probably helps you describe an area of an expertise. If you don't have to, if you would do it for free, man, imagine what you could do if you get paid for it. So, what
Yeah.
do you naturally research is question number 3. Why don't we go to the next one?
What what do you have results in? So this is all about like experience. So for example, fantasy football, okay? I have experience in winning fantasy football leagues. Like I said, I can make a digital asset for fantasy football. That could be a niche, right?
Right,
And so because I have those results, I have the authority to talk in that area, right? So for example, with us doing online business, we've been doing online business for a while. We've helped some people get some wins. We now have authority in that specific area. So if you're like have a really epic garden in your backyard and you help your neighbor with her garden, you now have authority in that specific area and you can teach it.
right. A lot of people think, well, people pay for that. Will people pay
Yeah,
for me to teach them how to do gardening? Absolutely. That is an area,
100%.
that's an industry. Like it's a billion-dollar industry, and you should be jumping in on that. So, what results do you have? Like it's so like Bob and Audrey Meisner, friends of ours.
She was on a past
He was on the
episode if you want to go
podcast
watch it.
recently, and think about this. Audrey and Bob, their story is that she had an affair while they were pastors, and they went through a process of restoring and healing their marriage. So their mess became their message. Okay, so it's not always just I have results in a business capacity, but sometimes your mess becomes your message. Sometimes something that you struggled through and that you actually helped in your own life, you can actually help other people. So it's
Yeah.
Bob and Audrey are really good a really good testament to that. So now they've helped hundreds and hundreds of marriages because they went through a process of healing and restoring their marriage. So what results do you have in? So what transformation have you helped other people in? So you want to look at this, and it should begin with you. So like I remember jumping into the online space, the very first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to teach people how to run a live in-person, very large event. Not like a wedding, not like a funeral, not like a small little thing, but how do I run large stadium events? I knew I could teach that. I've done it for, decades. So I could help people in that. I could also help people in public speaking and communication. I could teach. I made a list of all the areas that I had results in, and that's what you want to do. What areas do I have results in? What skills do I have? What area of my what message do I have that I can convey that came from a mess? My mess became a message. So you want to actually get into the nitty gritty of what you have results in, and I guarantee you're going to be one step closer to finding your specialty and your niche. Well, let's go on to the next one.
And a lot of people think with finding that specialty that it has to be like a crazy specialty. Like for example, one of our students, she's a NICU nurse for like 30 years, and she wants to teach moms how to do pain-free breastfeeding,
Right,
which is a huge pain point with new moms and people who just had newborns, because that is a huge pain point physically as well as like actual literal, like it's painful. So she's teaching something that is someone's pain point. Just like he said at the beginning, every single business came out of a problem. So when you guys are thinking of making a digital asset or a business, you have to think you're serving a problem, not just a solution.
right. And it begins
Yeah.
with that problem. And so you want to obsess around the problem, the pain, and I even like to write down statements that my prospect, what are the statements that they're saying? What's keeping them up? What's keeping them up at night? And if you actually can obsess around their problems, then I'm actually going to come up with the solutions to their problems. And where I have results in, If I can find their problem and I have a solution for their problem and I have a passion and I have results in that problem, oh my goodness, I got a business. Okay. Just
Yeah,
with those things alone.
and when you have all those pieces, you know exactly how those people think and talk.
Right.
Like, because we make like marketing funnel systems for companies and people. So when we're sitting down ready to make someone's system, we ask the business person, okay, what is your audience? What's the market? What are some of their pain points and the age range? And
Right.
just from those questions, we can figure out how the person is thinking, what are the pain points of that person, and then we'll go write a video or copy for the page. And to one person, it literally sounds like gibberish. Like I have no idea what you're saying. But to that one specific client or prospect, they know exactly what you're saying and they are hooked in because
Right.
it's their pain point that they're experiencing at that moment.
Yeah.
Like
Like,
I'll even, well,
go
like
ahead.
yesterday, we wrote a VSL video on a funnel page. I go to show my wife and we write it for a specific person. And this person, and in this specific one, we're teaching people how to make money. And I show my wife, and she's like, kind of checks out at about maybe a couple minutes into the video, and she's like, "Oh, it's like she's really positive. Oh, it's such a good video. Did a good job." And and I'm like, "You don't think that's epic?" And
No, that's
she's like,
really
"No, it's a good video." And I'm like, well, I guess it's just not your pain point because I'm not speaking her language.
right.
Like she doesn't really care about making money. She's like a mom, right? Um, and
If we
so
made
when
something,
you
we made something for,
for a mom
hospitality or for a mom or for, decorations and stuff like that that she's interested
or
in.
raising your kids,
Right. She would buy it, be interested in a video like it
and
because it
she would
speaks
be
her language.
hooked in that video.
Right.
Yeah, and she'd be hooked in that video. So that's why you need to find all these specific things like about that person because once you know all the pieces, you can talk exactly to them. They're going to be so hooked in and it's going to be so easy to sell them something.
100%. 100%. Well, let's go on to the next one. Number 5. Okay. Number 5 is, what are all the things that people would buy from you? So what that means is, what do people already ask you a lot about? So one of the things that happens that I even like to look at is when I'm in, conversation with prospects, potential clients, and they're asking me the same question over and over again, guess what? I should probably make a product and solve that question. If I
Yeah.
have that, that's really free research, guys. So if someone's asking you a question over and over again, the same question, and you have the solution for that question, you should probably come up with a product of some kind to answer them, to help them, to
That's
go
even why
further.
we made this video.
100%.
It's even why we made this video. Like we figured out at the beginning when we'd get on calls with people, one of the first things they always ask, how do I find my niche? Right? So we're like, why don't we just make a video about it and break it all the way down, and then we can just send it to them.
Right.
But
Here's
that's how you can
going
get
to
the
help
free
you.
research.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
even a lot of people don't even want to go into a coaching program um, because they don't know what area that they're going to serve people in. So they would like to get that duck in a row. So if you can actually solve people and answer all their objections, like I heard this recently, this guy was a fitness guy and he was needing to do a sale real quickly. He was going to coach someone in fitness. And he was so desperate that he was going to say yes to anyone that came through the door. So a lady comes to the door and she says, you know what? I like all this. I would love to buy this, but every lunch hour, I have to go out for lunch. And he had already made a system that you're not allowed to eat outside lunches, outside food, outside restaurants. So that was part of the package, and that you can't eat outside. And so when she said that, she goes, every lunch I have to, for business, eat out. And so now he had to figure this dilemma out. She has an objection. So guess what he did? He goes, that's okay. I'm going to make you a menu for eating out, and I'm going to include it in the package. How's that? She bought. Now he solved a problem within a problem. She wanted to lose weight, and now she was already eating out, so he came up with a menu for that. So before you know it, he's stacking value to help solve that problem. So here's the initial problem, but you got another nuanced problem. Oh, now you're talking. Now you're talking what comes up with the phone. Like when Steve Jobs came up with the phone, the iPhone, he solved three problems. He wanted to solve the phone problem, a music player, and the internet all in one. But what
Yeah.
happened is he came up with 10,000 other new problems. You have apps, you have covers, you have cases, you have connections, you have all sorts of other things that come up with one answer, solving one problem. And so when you solve one problem, guess what? You're going to potentially come up with 500 more problems that you have an opportunity to solve. And so
And
that's
that's
what
how you
we're
scale.
that's how you scale. That's how you go to the next level. But you got to start out with the one problem that you can solve. So what results do you have and what are people going to buy from you that potentially want to buy from you? So you want to solve that one too. Okay? So let's go on to the next one, Michael.
What business do you really want to be in long term? So this is actually something that I experienced a few years ago. I was posting on TikTok, and I grew my audience on TikTok really big, almost 60,000 people. And I was just sharing Jesus, Bible, praying for people on TikTok. And the audience got big, but then I'm like, how do I like bring this audience like to the next level? Like how could I even like potentially make an income from my audience, right? Because honestly, TikTok does not pay you much for views. Like I think I made like $100. Like it was nothing
Wow.
from millions of views.
Wow.
But anyways, the I was like, how do I bring these people to the next level? What's something that I can like teach people that is like a problem? So I was like, oh, why don't I help people get free from pornography? Like that's huge pain point.
Huge
And because
point.
my audience was 14 to 23 years old. And that's a huge problem in that age range. So I was like, why don't I just make a course on how to get free from pornography? And so then, but then I was like, man, but I don't want to like, because what happens is you'll make a low ticket offer in that like niche. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just make like a $50 course, $10 course. I don't know. I didn't know the price yet. It's a low ticket offer on how to get free from porn in a week. Okay.
Okay.
And so then I make it, but then I'm like, well, how do I make like real money from it? Like, so a few people bought it, but then I'm like, how do I make real money from it? Well, to make real money, you need a done with you offer, which costs more money. But then also, I'm going to have to hear and have people ask me all these questions about pornography, and I have to hear all their stories. And like, it's great that I get to help people, but it's also heavy content. Like, I have to hear all this kind of gross stuff,
Very
right?
negative.
So
Very
I'm like, I
negative.
don't really want to be in that long. Yeah, yeah, it's just heavy content. Like, it's negative.
Right.
So I don't really want to
Maybe
be in
and
that
maybe it
market
wasn't a
long
passion of
term.
yours. Maybe it wasn't a full passion of yours. Like there's some counselors that absolutely love that kind of stuff and they're passionate about it.
Yes.
And so maybe
Yeah.
that wasn't an
Like I
area.
even know Bob and Audrey.
Right.
Like I even know Bob and Audrey. They'll sit down and they're gonna sit down with someone in a marriage crisis for a few days. To me, that sounds very heavy and intense.
Right.
And with my personality, that sounds even emotionally draining. But they really enjoy it, and it gives them life. So you kind of have to think, what do you want to do long term? But does it also like work with your personality, and if it like you can even do it long term?
Yeah. Even for me, Michael, I wanted to when I first got in the online space. You know that I transitioned out of events, and
Yep.
but I didn't want I didn't mind teaching events, but I knew what was happening was people wanted me to not just consult about events, they wanted me to run their events, and they
Yeah.
would even pay me more money if I would not just organize their event but run their event. And I really didn't want to be in that space. I did it for so long, and it's a very stressful life. And I was good at it, like very good at it, but I didn't want to do it anymore. And so
Yeah.
I transitioned not just out of that space, I just didn't want to be in there long term. So this was a deciding factor for me. This is not for me. So I just went
Yeah.
further. I
And
just
you have
kept
to
going
think
with
about that.
other skills and other results that I could have and bring people. And the
Yeah.
passion was another aspect to it. But did I want to be in that long term? Absolutely not. So I signed out. So I think people will have
That's
to
good.
evaluate that as well. Where do you want to be in long term? Do you see yourself in the next 5 years doing that one thing? Because that's what you're signing up for. If it's not just a side
Yeah.
hustle, and that's okay to have a side hustle, just like Michael started in creating a course and TikTok, that's a side hustle. That's okay. But if you really want to make money and maybe even transition into a full time business, do you want to be in that long term? That's a great question to ask. So let's.
Yeah, that's good.
You were talking about this one earlier on, Michael. I think you got some great stuff. So what would be number 7?
So number 7 is it a consumable problem or a non-consumable problem? So I'll explain this one a little bit. So a consumable problem is something that um, has to be replenished by paying you again. So this is how you can make your business grow long term because you'll have to keep raising prices because there'll be more demand for it. So what I see a lot of time in online business is people are always chasing, oh, I need to get new clients, I need to get new clients, I need to get new clients. And part of that reasoning is because they don't do a good job with the clients they already have, right? So, one way to make it a consumable problem is do a good job with your clients because then they're going to want more. But a non consumable problem, let me just give this to you in like real world terms. So, a consumable problem could be a haircut. Okay. So I have to get a haircut every 3 to 4 weeks, right? Or some people it's every week if they have like a fade,
Right.
right? That's consumable problem. I have to keep paying money to get that result. A non-consumable problem would be like if I buy a furniture, like a table. Like it might be
Or a
I have to
month.
buy a new table in 10 or in 10 years, but once I have that table, I'm not going to buy another table next week,
Right.
right? So you have to think the problem that you're solving, is it something that is going to have to be replenished quickly? Or is it going to have to just be like you do it once and then it's kind of done? Like an example would be email marketing. Email marketing, say you write emails for people, okay? That would be a non consumable problem because I could write an email workflow for you and it will be profitable, but then you don't really need another email workflow, right? Because
Right.
it's done, it's there. Or you might need one in a year for a new funnel, but it's not really uh, consumable.
Right.
A consumable example in the online space might be ads, right? Usually with ad creatives, they go bad after like a couple weeks to a month. They just stop performing as well because the term is like the creative gets worn out, like it gets tired, like too many people have seen it. So you need a new creative or a new ad or a new copy. So then that's a consumable problem. Someone has to keep paying you to make new stuff, right? So that's how you kind of have to think about when you're thinking about your product in your market. Is the problem I'm doing consumable or non-consumable? Because you'll grow a lot faster if it's consumable and if it's like something that people have to keep coming back to you for,
Right.
because then your what's it called, your customer base will keep stacking. You'll
Right.
get one person and they're sticking with you, then you'll get another and then another and then another, and it just stacks.
Right.
So that's how you have to think about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's so good. Well, guys, just gonna do a quick recap of the 7 questions that you can ask yourself to get your specialty and clarify your niche. So, number 1, what problem do you solve? Number 2, what are you passionate about? Number 3, what do you research regularly, naturally, on your free time? Number 4, what results do you have? What results do you have in? Okay, number 5, what are all the things that people might buy from you? What are all the things that people might buy from you? And number 6, what business do you really want to be in long term? And number 7, is it a consumable problem or is it non-consumable problem when it comes to your product? So all of that can help you clarify your specialty and your niche. So listen, if you guys like our content, if you would do us a favor, number 1, like and subscribe it. And number two, share it with other people. Do us that favor. We really appreciate that. We love bringing new content every single week, and we're going to continue bringing content like this every single week. We want to help you develop. We want to help you develop your skills, but also scale your life. And we like talking all things marketing, sales, online business, digital assets. And we love talking about it through the lens of faith and the Bible. So if you appreciate that,
Yeah.
follow us and share it with other people. Do us that favor. All right, guys? So thank you for jumping in on this show, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week. We'll see you at the top.
See you guys.